it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All righty. Well, welcome again to another episode of the Mike Charleston Show. I am Mike Charleston, and today I am joined with Chuck.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up? And Sarah.
Hey, guys.
And actually, Joshua's in the room too, but we're not going to show him. So yeah, we're excited. We have another little show for you. We also have Elisabeth coming in later and Sarah's Song of the Week later with Rich Mullins' Creed. So stay tuned for that. So this week we're going to do, and by the way, so as you can see, Chuck and I are wearing the same shirts, and Sarah was not in the spirit. So anyway, our camp is coming up soon. I think like 4 or 5 weeks now. It's coming up soon. So I don't know if there's any more spots. There might be 1 or 2 more spots, but there are places off site if you would like to come and spend a couple days with us. And we just did a weekend of, well, it's really not a weekend. It's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and but it's a couple days of just refreshing and preaching, teaching, singing, fun. So fellowship for the family. So come join us. Check us out at layloncamp.com, I believe it is, and or just email us here and for information and stuff like that. So we've been spending a lot of money lately for this. So anyway, so next week, by the way, just show notes. Next week, Sarah and Chuck are not going to be on the show. Chuck's going to be in somewhere else. Somewhere. And Sarah's going to be somewhere. And I'm going to be doing an interview. So actually tomorrow is actually when I'm actually going to be doing the interview. He's a professor at Moody Bible College. I think it's Moody Bible College. And anyway, he wrote a book, and so I wanted to interview him, and he agreed. And so I'm like, wow, he's like the biggest guest that we've gotten. So look forward to that. So anyways. So today's episode, we are, as you can see by the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be talking about questioning God. And, just whatever that means. Mm-hmm. And so we're not really, like, we have a bunch of notes and it's kind of scattered, and Chuck's like, I'm not going to look at my notes. So I'm like, that's good, because this one's just kind of more conversational, and we're just kind of discussing the issues, and we do have some notes, but because this is a tough issue at times, because people, I feel, are afraid to question God, and then there are different kinds of questions that you can ask, and we're going to get into that, where two or three different kinds of questions, which are more sincere, and some are not as sincere, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So let's just start off, I guess, by talking about questioning God in general. Is it okay? Now, we did an episode on this not too long ago, I believe, when we were talking about questioning God. On some other aspect of questioning God. So you can go back and check that out. But questioning God, not a terrible thing, right?
No, I kind of split it in my mind into 2 categories, whether or not you're a believer. Okay. Are you questioning God to determine, is this truth? Is this, as you're looking towards a God of creation and who is this God? Are you kind of searching and seeking? So my idea, that's one bucket of questions. Sure. But then as a believer, I still don't think it's wrong to question God. Right. Mm-hmm. I think there's certain aspects. I think we'll see that there are certain times when you don't question. Right. But I don't think it's a bad thing to question God, even when you are a believer. Sure.
Well, I don't think we can actually stop people from questioning. I think we all, at some point in our lives, are going to have a time of questioning. Sure. And so, I'm sure, I would assume for both of you that there have been times you've questioned things, for me, for sure. And, I think you're right when you want to separate. It's like there are the questions that I struggle with before I got saved, and, in the salvation process and through all my thinking. Of course, I was very young. Right. But still, it's like I thought through a lot of those, deep things. Is God real? And, can I trust the Bible? And, some big questions. But then, once after I was saved, and for sure after I was saved, now I've been saved almost 40 years. It's like, well, there are some things that they're no longer.
Well, right. I think that's the point, is that as we mature, as we grow, there's always going to be issues that happen in our lives that we that bring questions. Yeah. What about this? What about that? Or this isn't working, so what do I do? Yeah. What's the ramifications of this? Lord, help me out. And so I think we're always going to have questions, but these questions should be more aspects to seeking. We're seeking truth. and not just asking to ask questions. Now, I think that's popular in our society, and whether you're Christian or not Christian, to just question. And if you're just asking questions just to ask. So in every field out there, they deal with this issue, where people are just really just throwing out things, and some are legitimate and some are not. And so when I was growing up, Chuck, when I was growing up, the teachers always said there was no dumb questions. Right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly common statement. There are no dumb questions.
Well, but there are plenty of dumb questions out there. And we say, well, why do you say that? Well, as a kid, there are no dumb questions because they're trying to learn and, they understand that. But as adults, darn well, like there's an example. I was reading this article of this guy. He was a scientist, not necessarily a Christian. I don't know who he was. And he was giving examples of different kinds of questioning. And he was like, he studies turtles. So there's an exciting life for you right there. And he was like, they've debated at why they do something with their fins. Is that to get the bacteria off? Is that to ward off anything? Those are good questions so they can learn. Now he says what a dumb question would be is, do they do that because they're trying to avoid the aliens in the ocean? He's like, there's no evidence that there are aliens in the ocean. You're just asking a stupid question, because it's not based on evidence or facts or anything. You're just asking stupid questions. And then he went on to talk about the coronavirus. And he said, is it legitimate to ask, is it man-made? And he's like, sure. If people that are seeking to, seek, truth and hey, it's a legitimate question to say, is this man-made virus? Because, well, man have made viruses before. And so there's facts on it. But then he said, but it's a stupid question if you say, and this is where I might step on people's toes because I know some people might believe this, but did Bill Gates create this virus so he could put chips in our body so he could track us and give us viruses and all that stuff? And there is no facts based on what Bill Gates, someone just came up with that, formed it as a question, and basically said it as a fact. They're basically just asking a question, but they're really making a statement. And I think that there's a difference there. Now, in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, God says, let us reason together. And that's a very interesting verse there. And I know it's not in the notes, so I'm going off script here real quick. But let us reason together. And so God is a God that wants to communicate and wants to reason with us. Yeah. And so he's not trying to keep us in the dark. He's not trying to keep everything hidden from us. So it is healthy for us to grow as Christians in our relationship to ask legitimate questions when we're seeking truth, right? Yeah,
I think that oftentimes as we relate to God, we think of God as some distant ruler that's controlling our environments and controlling our lives instead of this personal individual that wants to relate directly with us. Because that's truly what he is. I mean, he's somebody who wants to be with us. That's why he created us to have that personal relationship with us. And I think we tend to forget that. And I think you're right. I think what you're saying about the questioning is, what's the point of the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you asking the question to create confusion?
Yes. Right. That's a good point.
Are you asking a question to actually try to determine the truth?
Yes. Are you seeking truth in this question? Do you want answers? Are you just ever questioning things and you're never really coming to the truth? Truth kind of reminds me of the verse where they're ever learning but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Yeah. And so you were, maybe I'm putting you on the spot here, but you were wanting to compare it to marriage in some way. And when you get to know someone, would it be fair to question your spouse? And I was like, well, in some ways, yes. But do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I was just wondering.
That was off air, by the way. We were talking about that, not now. But.
Right. No, yesterday we were talking about, because I was just thinking about asking questions. And I'm like, in marriage, how does that work? Once we've been married and we've been together 26 years.
We have.
And so
27 years if you count the engagement.
Okay. Yep. We've been married a long time.
We've been married a long time.
So in marriage, it's is it okay to question your spouse? And at what point is it should I?
Question in what way? I don't understand that. What do you mean by question your spouse?
Well, you could question your spouse, your motives of your spouse. You can question like, basically when we talk about goodwill and like
your lack of faith disturbing.
Okay. Wow, I don't know where that came from.
Well, are you questioning, the lack of faith or what?
Well, I'm just like, if you we have all this history together, and it's like, I know who you are. And so at this point, like I don't know, I just trying to like think through this whole questioning thing and relate it to, I was just thinking about once we're married for this long, I think there are things that like I no longer question about you.
Right. Like you know me more and more. And I think the questions get less and less.
Right.
Now, God is inscrutable. He's unsearchable. Yeah. And there's always more to know about God, and so just when we think we know God, there's a little thing that comes up and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think what Sarah's trying to say there, as you grow in that relationship and that time that you spend in getting to know God, there become things that are unquestionable. They're guarantees, and you don't have any questions as to his character, how he, what his, personality. There's you know what God thinks about certain things, and you don't have to question, how he would direct you in some areas.
So would you call that like faith? That you have faith, no doubts in something about. It would be utterly shocking if something bizarre happened and you're like, no, that's not my husband. And if you found out it was true, you'd be like, that's just impossible.
Right.
But basically, it comes down to faith at that point.
Right.
And that's what grows our faith is by learning things about Christ, and questioning is part of that.
Yeah.
And so in the process of this show, so getting ready for the interview that I was talking about earlier, I was reading his book, and he brings up a lot of these things about people questioning, because his book is about Jesus claiming to be God. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have questions about that, and legitimate questions.
Yeah.
And yet there are a lot of professors out there that will have questions, but they're not being honest about it. Well, I think there's some questions in our relationship with God that we get over pretty quickly. Like if I know that God exists, I think I should get that one over pretty quickly. Like that one should be an early on. I got this one down. I have no doubts about the existence of God. Okay, now who is that God? Okay, I believe it's Jesus. I believe Jesus, and Yahweh is the creator God of the universe, and the God of the Bible. And, I'm pretty sure about that. I am confident in this. So these are questions that I no longer question anymore today, but I had to deal with those things early on. Yeah. And I think everybody has to.
Yeah, I would agree. The foundation of our salvation is built on the idea that we believe God is, and that he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Yeah. If you don't believe those two things, then you're not saved. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Well, one thing I do want to say, back to the marriage thing real quick. Is
okay, she's got to clarify herself.
The difference is, the difference is between marriage and, knowing your spouse and knowing God is that God is unchanging forever.
Oh, what are you trying to say?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like in marriage, there could be a time where it's somebody is totally shocked because it's like, wow, that is not my husband or whatever. Right. But God doesn't change, and he is constant, and he, so it is slightly different.
It is different, and thank goodness he doesn't change. Right. He's not up there changing his mind all the time and keeping us on edge, because that would be very interesting. But so anyway, what are some?
I have here that one thing we should do when we ask questions is to ask questions in the right way.
In the right way. So now this is an interesting thing. So you're like, well, what do you mean? Is there a right way to ask questions? Absolutely.
I think so.
And we have examples from Scripture,
we do.
Actually.
So first off, I have the Bereans.
The Bereans. So in Acts 17:11, Paul comes to Berea and is teaching them.
Yeah.
Now you got to remember, put yourself back in this era, and this is new.
Yes.
This is, they're not really understanding.
The gospel message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something they've never heard before.
Yeah.
So this is fairly new for the Bereans. And so what do the Bereans do? They go and search the scriptures daily to see if these things are true.
Yeah.
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 Just so everybody's on the same plane, they didn't have the scriptures we have today.
Right.
They're searching the Hebrewic Old Testament scriptures.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And they are searching daily to see if they're true. They're not searching it with cynicism.
Right.
They're hearing something and they're like, "Ooh, sounds good."
let me check it out.
I like what you're saying, but is it true?
Yeah.
And so they have legitimate questions, and they go and search out for themselves, and they find out these things are true. And Paul commends them and says they're actually more noble than the Thessalonians.
Yeah, which is actually, I think something good that we should all think about, because I think so often, there's so much information out there. So many people do a podcast, you hear something, whatever. And how many of us actually go and fact check and okay, let me see if that's actually true. Because today it's easier than ever to check. It's like we have the Bible, we've got Blue Letter Bible, you got something on your phone, you've got, we could do that. And so often we don't. We're just like, we just take it.
The times I check the most is when I am cynical. And I'm like, that doesn't say that, or it's not in there. There's no way it's in the Bible like that. But if it's not, I just kind of, you're right. I just kind of accept it and this guy wouldn't lie to me, right? He doesn't have an agenda. And so, check people out. It's a healthy thing to ask questions, especially if. So this week I was talking to one of my coworkers, and so this week we're in Romans chapter 6. So if you're following this study, you should know where we are at church. But we're going through Romans chapter 6, and I love Romans chapter 6, and almost changed this whole thing just to talk about Romans 6. But he was asking questions because he had some doubts about what I was saying, and I had to explain myself. And he started understanding. He's like, well, that makes a lot of sense. And now, hopefully, and I didn't tell him to go and search it out himself, but, go search it out. And but it was healthy questions. It was questions to seek truth and not just to question, and basically with cynicism and doubts and things like that. You're coming to it with doubts and cynicism. It was coming to find out the truth. Now, you might come to the place where you're like, it's not true. What he said is not true. You go to a museum, or you go to go to books and you read things. You have to filter it and be like, okay, what's the chances of this being true? So what else do we have there?
So we're talking about asking questions the right way. Another thing is that when you ask a question, you should be willing to accept the answer. And
this is where people struggle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they're not sincere and they're asking questions. And so they've already made up in their mind. And this is where, they're asking the question about Bill Gates, they already know what they believe. And they're just kind of throwing the question out there maybe as a lifeline to see if anybody's on their side. I don't know. But if you're willing to hear the answer, and most people aren't willing to hear the answer or accept the answer, they're just like, no, that's still not true. That's not, nope. They've already made up their mind, and they're just throwing a question out there. You see this all the time on YouTube. If you look at debates, especially on college campuses, when you have people like Charlie Kirk or some of these apologetic people, and they're trying to trap these people. They're not really seeking for answers. They're like, I want a gotcha moment, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, I was just listening to a podcast from Family Life, and they were talking about the average number of seconds when a couple is having an argument or whatever, an average number of seconds they wait to respond. And it's like, it's either 14 or 17 seconds. So it's like,
what are you talking about?
Basically, you're talking and I don't give enough time for you to even finish, and I'm ready to, but you said this. And they were talking about, if you can have a wait,
but 7 to 14 seconds seems like a long time.
No. She just explained herself. 7 to 14 seconds to the other person talking before you're ready to talk over them.
Right. So you're ready to respond.
You're not listening and then waiting for a response.
Okay.
Exactly.
I thought there was 7 to 14 seconds of blank air.
That's crazy. I've never happened, right?
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
So it's just such a short time, and I feel like a lot of times people ask questions.
Because I'm waiting right now. I'm
I know you are.
That was it.
And so it's like I ask a question, and then you start to respond, but you're not even halfway through your first sentence, and I'm ready with my next question.
That's true.
And it's like that's not being very teachable. And so then, what's your point of asking questions? Right. You're not actually trying to learn something. I want to know what you think. Do you?
Yeah, that's the question. Do I want to know what you think? Because, to be fair, to be honest, I think we all do that. But whether I'm talking to Chuck or even last night, we had the Bible Bee thing at our house, and everyone's telling stories. And it's like this guy's telling the story. 7 seconds in, I'm like, I got a story too. Hurry up, finish. I got a story too. And then he's probably thinking, but we listen. We can still listen and have it, rolling in our mind. But when you're having an actual discussion, not just telling stories, you should actually hear the person out.
Yeah.
And now, to be fair, in a marriage, like we just talked about earlier, I know my wife, so I know where she's going, so I can.
Sometimes you'll say like, "I already know what you're going to say,"
right.
whatever. And I'm like, it's not even fair. Like, I don't even get a chance to like think through what I want to say.
Sometimes I'm wrong.
Anyway.
Sometimes I'm wrong.
So we're supposed to know what you think.
That's right. That is right.
All right, we're getting to something.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay.
So then I have some examples of questions from the Bible.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
The first question in the Bible.
So Chuck looked at the notes,
did.
but I'm just for the listeners out there. If just curious, think about the first question in the Bible and who it came from. Yeah, it was from the devil.
Yep.
The devil asked the first question in the Bible,
Sure did.
and the point was to.
He was looking for an truth.
I don't think so. No, he was looking to
sow doubt.
divide. Yeah, just to sow doubt, and so Eve is standing there in the garden, and go ahead.
And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden.
Now, do you think he said in Old English like that?
I don't think he spoke English.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe
Probably
he did.
Arabic.
Yeah, who knows? But so what
which is interesting to me because I feel like in my mind, I hear this question today. It's not with the tree, but it's like with
really
everything. You know, I just feel like that's if we could be outside of ourselves and actually look and see and listen, it'd be like, wow, it sounds just the same as what he was telling her.
Pretty much. Well, the difference is that Satan goes on. So he said, "Did God say?"
Yeah.
Did God say? Did God really say this?
Yeah.
And Eve comes back and she answers it and then adds more to it. But he said, "Don't eat of this tree." He said, "Eat all the other trees, but of the tree, but don't eat of this tree. Don't even touch it."
Yeah.
Now she added a little bit, and he said, "Nah, that's not true."
Yeah.
And so now she's got doubt in her mind, and she believed it. So that's where the faith relationship, she was walking in faith with God, and someone comes in and throws a little doubt. Now, we're not necessarily saying doubt is always a bad thing, because once again, how do we know that Christianity is true? What if we're believing a lie? How do we know Hinduism is false or Islam is false? So someone's going to be false.
Yeah.
And so we want the truth. But once we are in a right relationship with God, there's going to be people that come in and say, "Did God say? Is this really true?
Right.
Did God say this?" And it's the same lie from the very beginning of the Bible, where the answer, you could give the answer, and then they say, "No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not what he said," because he knows what God is really intending. And so that's the first question in the Bible.
First question.
Okay, so do we have any other examples?
I do have some other questions. Like in 1 Kings, when Elijah, he came to all the people and he said, "How long halt ye between two opinions?" And he was with the prophets of Baal. And he was like, if the Lord is God, then, who, basically, it makes me think of with Joshua, he's like, choose you this day whom you'll serve.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go.
Yeah, do you want to go with Baal or do you want to go with God?
Yeah, which one?
Stop being double-minded.
Esther, Mordecai says, and who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yep.
Then John, you obviously
Let's actually go back to that one. I mean, that one's a little bit more interesting because a lot of people that's a more personal question. Like, how do you not know? So a lot of people have a lot of doubts on situations in life, life situations. And we just doubt God, he's like, how do you not know you're here for such a time as this? Now, Grant, I'm not using that verse out of context for every aspect of my life, but how do we not know that God wants us here for this particular purpose, and we just have to go with this? You know,
it's actually really a good thing to think about, because so many times in life we face challenging times and things that are really frustrating, and it is a good thing to think like, well, maybe this is part of God wants me to learn something through this, or somehow He's going to use this for His glory.
Absolutely.
That's what James tells us, count it all joy when we fall into diverse temptations, because that's what builds our faith.
Yeah.
You actually have to practice your faith in order to build your faith.
Absolutely.
There's no way around it.
And that means you're going to get challenged at times. So,
So speaking of challenges, we have Jesus is before Pilate, and Pilate asked the question,
what is truth?
What is truth?
What is truth?
So,
that's a good one. What is truth? And he kind of just walked off. Like, why didn't he let Jesus respond? And anyway.
Yeah. Then I have a list of other questions, like David says, "What is man that thou art mindful of him?"
Right.
Cain says,
"Am I brother's keeper?"
Am I my brother's keeper? Abraham says, "Will not the judge of the earth do right?" And that's when he was going back and forth, talking about having a conversation with God.
I mean, that's a perfect example where you can actually have a conversation. And what was the word you used?
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think of the word he used too.
Reason with God. I mean, he did it.
Right.
He did.
And God listened.
Yeah.
Well, and so you look at some of these questions, and some of them are like excuses.
Yeah.
Like, am I my brother's keeper? Is that really a legitimate question? He's asking God, you know, like he's just trying to excuse himself. And a lot of these things are to challenge people. And so we're not saying, like, look, if you have questions about God, embrace that. You know, it's as Chuck Missler said, if you have a question, it's good because that means there's an answer coming.
Right.
If you're seeking for answers, and I think that's our point, is that there's a good way to ask a question. So there's a smart question and there's a dumb question.
Yeah.
And if you're just trying to sow doubt, and in your mind you really know the answer, but you're just trying to be a jerk about it, you know, and just be like, I'm just going to ask a question. I'm just asking a question. You're just hiding behind the old shield. Just ask a question. Yeah. And that's intellectually dishonest. Yeah. You know, if you already think you know the answer, but you're just asking a question.
Yeah. So there's many more, but we don't. For the sake of time, we're going to move on to some questions that we shouldn't ask.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
maybe
I didn't see this in the notes, so go ahead.
So in Titus 3,
I saw this. Okay, yeah.
Verse 9 says, and there's more. You can read the context that adds to it, but it says, "But avoid foolish questions and genealogies and contentions and strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain." And then it goes on to say that a man that is an heretic after the first and second admonition reject. That's what we read last night.
Yeah.
Knowing that he that is such is subverted and sinneth, being condemned of himself.
Well, that's usually what I find is that people that start asking all these questions, sin isn't too far behind.
Yeah.
And, you know, so a heretic is a strong word. A lot of people just throw that out there with someone like me that might teach something different. And they say, you're a heretic because you teach this. That's not a heretic. You know, someone that's a heretic is gone off the wagon here and is no longer in Christ. You know, they're not in Christianity. Right. They are teaching basically another gospel, basically. That's a heretic. We're not talking about someone just believing something a little bit different and because they disagree with you, that's heresy. That's heresy. No, heresy is leading people astray, and these are worthless questions, and so that's hard to understand. You know, the first question is, well, how does it say it? Avoid
foolish questions.
Foolish questions. How do we know it's a foolish question? Well, hopefully we're helping you a little bit. Yeah. But are you seeking truth? Once again, are you seeking? Are you being honest about the question?
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to steer trouble, or you know that this is, they have what they call online, they are, Joshua, what are they called? People that try to get a response out of people. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. They're not knobs, they're not noobs, they're...
There's a term. I feel like I even know it, which is really strange.
Well, you should know it. It's not that new. But these people get online just to get a rise out of people. And so they just...
They're what?
Trolls. Yes, they're trolling you.
Yeah.
And they just go out there and just type out something, maybe ask a question, and get into a chat board. And they know this is going to start controversy. So they just throw a question out there and be like, wow, should Hitler, you know, and you're like, oh, here we go. You know, does God really love every, you know, and it's like all they're doing is just stirring the pot, stirring the pot. They're not there to seek answers. They're not there to seek truth. They're just there to sow doubt and create chaos. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's the purpose of questions, is to seek truth. And sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes you really are grappling with some things. Right. Yeah. And if you find yourself in the middle of grappling with some of this issues, be patient and keep seeking God, and don't just give it up and be like, well, until I get answers. Because I think a lot of people, they want certainty on everything. Yeah. And the fact is, you're not going to get certainty on every question. Yeah. There is going to come, like, our faith is not a blind faith, and it's not a certainty faith. It is a reasonable faith. And so we have a lot of answers, and we don't have all answers. That's the difference. And so it's reasonable that these things are true, that I can trust God, you know, because of that. Not all answers. We're not given all the things, all the answers. God is not, he's not giving us everything. Right. You know. All answers. He's given us everything, but yeah.
Then 2 Timothy 2 kind of says the same thing, but it says, but foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing that they do gender strifes. So
gender? What? Oh.
So when you talk about you don't know what foolish questions are, I think you can easily think about questions that is just going to cause strife, and that's the purpose.
Causing fights. I kind of like what we were just talking about, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's just trolling. You are purposely going out there and saying something that you know you're going to get a rise out of people.
Yeah.
Avoid them. People like, and I know those type of people, and I want to avoid them because it's like, I can answer this question.
It's not profitable.
No, it's not profitable.
No. It's a waste of your time, really.
It's a waste of their time, my time. Right. And people get caught up on social media all the time because they're like, oh, I'm going to answer their question. I'm like, you just fell in their trap. This is going to go on and on and on and on forever. And they're going to make you look stupid because what does it say in Proverbs there about answering a fool according to his folly?
I was just looking that up. I was like, I don't have that verse, but
that's because we're married, right? And we got like,
maybe. Okay, so when the kids were young, I would we'd read the proverb of the day most of the time at breakfast time. And so Proverbs 26:4 says, "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him." And then the next verse says, "Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit." And it was always like, well, it says answer not a fool, and then it says answer a fool, and it's like, what? And so anyway, but so
don't answer a fool or should be like him, you know, but whatever.
Wisdom is knowing when to apply which
exactly, exactly, and that's what we came to the conclusion. It's like, oh, okay, I see how this works here.
You see how it works. Okay, so do we have anything else?
Well, so now I want to talk about holding fast. So
yes, that's true.
So, I do think that there definitely, there's nothing wrong with questioning. And there are people out there that'll be like, question everything. And I do think that there's a time to question, everything or most everything at some point. But then you get to where it's like, okay, now these things I'm no longer going to question because I stand on this. I believe this. I know this to be true. And so then we get to Hebrews 10:23 says, "Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised."
Yep, that's one of my favorite verses. And hold fast to the profession of faith.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily hold fast to our theology, because that can change, but our faith is rooted in Christ. And once we got that basics, like if you're like, well, I'm 10 years in and I still have, doubts about whether God exists. I'm like, well, what are you doing? You should have done that at the beginning. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. You need to go back to the milks. You need to go back, to this, that, and the other. And I think a lot of that is just ignorance of the Bible. I mean, you got people that are 30 years into Christianity and still don't know some of the basics. Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of the church's problem. And the church's issue of not teaching and not giving people some of these answers and materials.
Yeah. And then also in Hebrews 3:6 says, "But Christ as a son over his own house, whose house are we, if we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end." Yep. And then a few verses later it says, "For we are made partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end."
Yeah, so holding our faith is very important. Having questions about our faith is different, like we're always going to have some theological stance that we have that maybe we change here and there, or someone preaches something or teaches something. We're like, I never saw it that way before. And we adjust as we go along. Or I'm reading something and I'm like, I'm just not sure about this. It's fine. Hold on to that and it'll come back to it at some point. But in the process, don't give up your faith, and be like, because I don't have this answer. And that's why I was talking about certainty, just having certainty in everything. I've known people that, okay, I've got God exists. God rewards those that diligently seek him. The resurrection's true, but I don't have this one answer, so I'm just going to give up on everything because this one issue, and I'm like, is that the hill you're going to die on right there? So, hold fast to your faith and realize that your faith is growing, and questions are part of that, sure, but your faith is growing.
Yeah, we're told the just shall live by faith, and as we continue to live our lives following that commandment that the just shall live by faith, we continue to question. Yep. There's going to be this edge where you're trying to figure out some things, but you get some concrete answers. Yeah. And those answers go into a bank that basically this is the answer I got. And now whenever I'm questioning something else that's out there, I go back and look and say, well, what did God do here? What did God do here? What did God do? And you go back to those to help you determine what's the answer for the next step here. And that's what God in my mind, that's the building of your faith. That's as you begin to build this on this foundation, this building blocks of faith, where you live your life in such a way that this is where I'm getting my source from. This is it's coming from the truth that I've learned through my relationship with God.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I have one more verse. James 1:6 says, "But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed." And I like how you talk about rooted and that foundation, whatever. And, I just feel like, the Bible compares our walk, I guess, to a tree at times. I think about Psalm 23. He's like a tree planted by the river. That's Psalm 1. Anyway.
That's one. Whatever.
But anyway, and it is like, it just becomes more, you think about a tree and it starts very weak and whatever, but then as it grows, it's like that foundation is strong.
Yeah.
So.
But then when it gets
the
old.
picture I got of that, of you asked, not doubting. I always have this the story of this group that was going to get together. They had a drought, and the church group, whatever, they came together. They were going to pray for rain.
Okay.
One person showed up with an umbrella.
Oh
wow!
It's a great picture for me. It's like, okay, I'm coming praying for rain, expecting to get it.
That's funny. No, that's good. That's funny.
That's good. Yeah,
that is funny. Russ just wanted to get wet. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for this segment. And if you have any questions. Oh, I guess you see the irony there. But no, questions, whatever, you can email us if you have any questions about this. But yeah, my last encouragement would just be to seek God in sincerity and not in doubts, and seek for truth. And this day and age, there are answers out there if you really, really want to find them. So go check them out, man. Go check it out.
Mike Charleston Show.
All righty. I missed that button there. Elisabeth is here. So we've got game time with Elisabeth. Now, she's got some questions for you and I.
Imagine that. Questions.
Yes. But we're not answering together. So, yes, right?
It's not team play.
Right.
What are we doing?
So this is Where Is It?
Where is it?
it?
You changed it on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you changed it
Where
on
is
me.
it? Yeah.
Okay. She thought I was cheating.
Yeah, apparently.
So I'll say a verse, and you have to say where it is.
Okay, so this is what we were doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I get it. Let me make sure we got this. All right. I think we got that. I think this needs to be just a little bit louder. So I think we got this. Okay, go ahead. What's first?
All right. The first question is
For who?
For you.
For me?
Yes.
I won't get this one wrong.
Okay, that's right.
All right. Where in the Bible does it say, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked? Who can know it"?
The heart is deceitful and wicked. It's one of two verses. It's either Isaiah or Jeremiah. And I am going with Isaiah. Jeremiah?
No, Jeremiah.
Oh, my goodness. I got it wrong.
Jeremiah 17:9.
Yes, I should have known that.
You should
you know
have gone. You needed the 50-50 lifeline.
I did. I knew it was one of those, but okay, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Now, you don't have to guess the full reference. You just have to guess the book.
I
Just
get
the
it.
book?
Okay, just the book.
Okay.
But so it's Chuck's turn now?
Yes.
Okay,
My
Chuck's
turn
turn.
to get it wrong.
That's right.
Where is, "Can two walk together except they be agreed"?
Oh, yeah, Chuck.
Ooh,
Every marriage has this, right?
sure.
I'm going to guess he's going to get this one wrong.
Do you want a hint?
Oh, we can't get hints.
Well, there's hints.
Rope hints.
Let's see. Let's go totally marriage. I don't know if it's there. Let's try Song of Solomon. I don't think.
Oh,
Nope.
Nah.
I believe that's Amos, right?
Yes.
Amos.
Amos 3:3.
Amos 3:3. It goes on. It's a weird verse to use for marriage because did you have the whole verse?
I just have that part.
Oh, okay, because it gets weird after that. Like, wow, okay, that's not what you would put in a wedding. So, okay, my turn.
Yes. But the Lord is in his holy temple, that all the earth keep silence before him.
Good night. This could be a lot of things. The Lord, I'm going to say Isaiah.
Nope.
Ah, man.
It's Habakkuk 2:20.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Which I think that one's kind of easier for me because I memorized it in Bible Bee.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah.
I mean, but it sounded like a lot of different verses, but specifically that whatever. Okay. So what is Chuck's next one?
Yeah.
We are not doing good.
No, not at all.
All right. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him?
Why can't I get these ones?
Is that Jeremiah? No.
So it's actually in two places.
I was gonna say, isn't it Hebrews?
It's Hebrews 2:6,
That's
but also Psalm 8:4.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. We are not doing very good. So yeah, we are not doing good.
Baby steps.
All right.
Nope.
Next
Baby
one
step.
Okay.
is
She can't hear that. So
sorry, no. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way.
okay. If I keep saying Isaiah, I am going to get it right. This is Isaiah.
Yes.
Yes, right. All right, I got Isaiah. Yeah, that's a song you guys learned as a kid, right?
Isaiah 53.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, you got the reference, but it doesn't count. It's not your turn.
No, it's not.
All right, next.
Last one.
Last
Oh,
one. Good.
okay. Last one.
Looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior Jesus Christ.
Oh boy, I think I know this one.
It's Paul. But where? I'm going to go Ephesians.
Do you want a hint?
He's going to Ephesians.
Ephesians?
That would be.
That's wrong. Yeah.
What is it? It's Thessalonians.
Titus.
Titus. I was like, it's either Timothy, Titus, or not Philemon.
Yeah.
Thessalonians, Timothy. It's the pastoral epistles, and so Titus. Yes, that makes sense. So
Titus
wow,
2:13.
we did not.
Not well at all.
Yeah.
I think the problem is I don't know what you guys know very well.
Well, thank you. But I mean, those are common enough. We've heard
It's
it
like
all.
we didn't not heard them.
Right.
It's just we could get generalities, but
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So that was all you have, huh?
Yes, that's all I have.
All right. So we should change this.
how much better did you do?
Yeah. We should change this segment to Stump Mike and Chuck because we did not do very good on that one. So anyway, well, thank you. That was. I know people out there listening are like, oh, I got it right. So that's good. Good for you. You get behind the mic with the lights on and everything, and it gets tougher. So all right. Well, thank you, Elisabeth, for joining us.
Music with Sarah.
What song do you like?
All right, babe. Well, this is the song of the week, and this week we are going in the Wayback Machine. And so why don't you explain what it is?
So this song is called Creed by Rich Mullins.
Rich Mullins. So I think everybody if you're 30 years and older, I think you probably know Rich Mullins and know this song.
Yeah, hopefully. One thing I like about Rich Mullins is that, many people will talk about how, most songs or music, it's just like all the same.
Right.
Rich Mullins' music is not.
No, not at all.
It's got a very unique sound. And anyway,
Like right now, he's using a dulcimer.
A dulcimer, which you don't hear in so many worship songs for sure, or just even in Christian music. But anyway, I grew up with this song, and so it's near and dear to my heart because I remember going on road trips and we get to pick our song and whatever.
Okay.
And so this was a song that was often played. I had a brother who loved Rich Mullins, and anyway, but I love this song because it just goes through what I believe.
Well, technically, so there's creeds.
Right.
I'm not sure if this is the Nicene Creed off the top of my head.
The Apostles' Creed, is that the same
It's the
thing?
Apostles' Creed.
Okay.
That's for sure. And he changes it up a couple words.
Yeah.
Because in the original creed, the Apostles' Creed, it says the one Catholic Church.
Right.
Which Catholic means universal. And so
Right.
he just said one Christian church because they don't want to get confused.
Right.
Whatever. But
Yeah.
but anyway, but other than that, it's the creed. the Apostles' Creed.
Right.
In song.
Because this is what the apostles believed. And so it kind of just goes through. And, for me, it's like something that I sang as a young person, and my whole life, it's like those are, when people ask you, well, what do you believe? It's like, this is what would come to mind. It's like, I believe in God the Father, almighty maker of heaven and maker of the earth, Jesus Christ, his only begotten Son. I believe he died, he rose, was buried, all of these things. So I don't know, I think it's a good way to kind of put all those things together into one song. And actually there's a number of songs that are, similar in that they have like, this is what I believe, and different. Sure. Anyway, but this one I think just has a unique sound. And so
I mean, it's classic because it's the Creed, Apostles' Creed. Now, I don't care so much for creeds and all that stuff, but the Apostles' Creed is fairly basic. I mean, this is our statement of belief. And I'm trying to hear it as we're talking, and but it's basic beliefs, and it did not make it. It is making me. It's the very truth of God.
I like that part because in the chorus he says, "I believe what I believe. It's what makes me what I am." And I look back at my life, and I'm like, the things that I believe, those have made me who I am today. And so it's like you can't really separate. Some people want to be like, okay, well, I believe this, and then here's who I am over here. It's like, no, they're all the same.
Right. What you believe, it actually changes and makes you who you are. And so, but this is a good song. I love this album, this specific album that he puts out. And there's classic songs. He uses the dulcimer very well. And there's rockier songs, there's quieter songs, there's all kinds of. You can't say that Rich Mullins really has just one style. No. That's for sure.
No, very unique, and I don't know. I just think it's a good. I love that music has such a way of getting things into your heart and your mind, and they just stick with you. So I'm like, hey, I think this is a cool thing to stick with you. Is the basics of Christianity. So anyway, it's a good song.
So go check it out on YouTube or something. Just search Rich Mullins Creed.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking at it right now. Yeah, Rich Mullins Creed. It'll come up.
It'll come up. Easy to find.
It's a interesting music video, but whatever. So go check it out.
All right.
The Mike Charleston Show is brought to you by Fellowship of Believers. For more information, go to our website at fellowshipofbelievers.org. Thank you for listening. We hope we have encouraged you to stand strong in the Lord Jesus and grow in Him.